Okay, so it's 9 a.m. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the CARES Act informational meeting with the Callaway County Commissioners, Gary Youngerman, Roger Fisher, and Randy Klondin. They're going to give us some information on this CARES Act, the funding that is available, and exactly how you need to do it, and what's actually will qualify. So I'm going to turn that over to Gary Youngerman. Thank you, Gary.
You bet. So as I said the other day, we have released the first round application along with the press release. So there's going to be multiple rounds as we move through this CARES Act money. The guidelines that we received as a county are very, very gray. And so we have worked through some legal stuff with an attorney. There's about 26, 27 counties that worked with the same attorney to come up with an application. It's not perfect, but in this first round, you know, the application is relevant, but in this first round, what's really relevant is you answer the questions in the application, so there's no double dipping and stuff like that. But what's really important in this first round is that you have receipts or copies of those receipts or invoices. Do that little spreadsheet for us real quick, and get that turned in by April 15th, by noon on April 15th. So, and if there's any questions with that application or concerns, you can call us here. And there's probably others, Tamara and some of the other committee members that can answer some of the questions as well. And actually, there could be a question that we really don't have a real good answer for because of the gray matter within the CARES Act. So, but this first round, we know for a fact if you have expenses that were COVID-19 related, that they're direct expenses that you had to do to stay open or to reopen, whatever the case may be, those expenses would be eligible in this first round. And as we move into latter rounds, we hope to do more with mitigation type things within your business and different things like that. So as I said the other day, there's about 37%, a little more than 37% of the money that we were given by the state that has been allocated for this first round. In that first round, I think there was $400,000 that was allocated for small businesses. $100,000 was for non-for-profits. There was about $250,000 dedicated to PPE, which our emergency management director has got a small committee on that, and we have received some PPE already so that we can have some stock. There was about $200,000, I believe, put into testing, and then there was I think about $250,000. I don't have it in front of me, and I should. I have everything else in front of me but that breakout. But then the rest was broke out between health, nursing homes, and stuff like that, and political subdivisions. There was a section for political subdivisions. So the total was about a little over 1.9 million that we allocated in this first round. So we're not overly concerned that there's not enough money there. But what I want to say real quick is because we wanted to make sure we had money as we go through the year here, that's what we allocated in this first round. If by chance that there is not enough money allocated, don't panic. We'll either make some adjustments in this first round later on as a commission, or worst case scenario, as we enter into round two, everybody that, if there is some people that there wasn't money allocated for, we'll get them as soon as we can in round two, which round two I'm hoping will start in July, and we'll get you taken care of. You'll be at the top of the list. So we'll make it work. The one thing that we wanted to do as a commission is make sure that as we move through the year here, because we have until December 30th of this year to have invoices in hand. We don't have to have all of it spent, but we have to have invoices in hand by December 30th on a reimbursement type thing. So we just want to make sure that as we move through the year, we don't spend it all real early, that if we would have another outbreak later, that we would be out of money. So we want to try to use this money as wisely as possible as we move through and help as many people as we can as we move through. So with that being said, unless one of you two guys have something you want to say, I guess we'll just kind of open this up to however you're wanting to run this meeting. If it's questions or whatever, we're happy to take them.
Okay, so something that I can kind of think of real quickly. If it's COVID-19 related, one thing that I've actually been telling business owners, asking that question to them, would you have purchased that if it would not have been for COVID-19 to help you open back up your business or continue to run your business? That's a good way to think through that process when you're trying to decide on the things that you're going to ask for on your application and on your itemized list. Would you have previously bought that? Would you have bought those cleaners or that PPE, or would you have done that training or any of those things? So if the answer is no, I wouldn't have, then you probably should put it on your list, on your itemized list. Also, the application, once you complete that, which needs to be turned in by noon on June 15th, needs to include your application, your itemized list, with receipts and invoices that support your itemized list. It needs to be put into a sealed envelope with your business name and contact information on the front and sealed, then turned into the county at the Callaway County. You can drop it in the mail slot there, or you can turn it in at the city of Fulton, city of Holt Summit, New Bloomfield, Village of Kingdom City, or city of Avaz. And the commissioners will actually be collecting those, I'm assuming right after noon on June 15th. Is that correct, Gary?
Actually, that is correct. But the one thing I have been thinking about is getting the committee that we have organized that's going to look at this stuff first together, maybe next week, real quick, and see how many we've got, and actually start going through the process. Because if we're starting to get a bunch, and I suspect we're going to get some, part of me doesn't want to wait until the bitter end to have, and I'm just throwing a number out here because I have no idea, but I don't want to have 300 applications or 500 applications on that day at noon. When we have some early, we can go ahead and start going through them just to make sure that we feel like what was turned in is all eligible expenses, so we can get this money turned around as quickly as possible. Because as I put in the press release, I believe our hope is to make sure that we go through all these applications and have money checks printed no later than that first week of July, so that we can get them out. So I want to move as quickly as we can as we look through these things, but do our due diligence as well, because we're going to be scrutinized when we get audited over this stuff. And I want to make sure that we do our due diligence as we're moving forward.
One thing on the application, nonprofits need to show that they are a nonprofit by providing some sort of proof of nonprofit. Correct, Gary?
That is correct. So if you can just make a copy of your status and put it in there with your request, that's all we need. Just a copy of showing that you're a 501c3 or whatever you are, because we just don't want somebody saying I'm a nonprofit. You have to, in order to receive this money, you're going to have to show us proof that you're a nonprofit.
Okay. All righty. So usually our process here is we have anybody that had questions to submit those by email to Justice or to send those through chat. Justice, do you have any questions regarding this?
I have a few, yes. So I will ask these, and then if anybody has questions in the meantime, please send them in chat to me and I will relay those. But Gary, the first one is, does the cost to add air purifying equipment to HVAC systems qualify?
That's a good question. And part of me thinks that's more of a mitigation type plan. And we're going to get to that as we move forward. So I guess what I'm going to say right now is turn it in. Go ahead and turn it in. We're going to look at this stuff, but we may pull it aside, because I think what we're going to try to do is, as I said earlier, we want to help as many people as we can. So what I've been thinking about, we've been talking about it as a commission, is here real soon, we're going to look at what we're going to call mitigation efforts to make things better in your facility for not only COVID, but whatever the case may be. And so we're going to look at those, and that's probably going to come in the form of a grant type process where, the federal government, a lot of times when you get federal money, there has to be some skin in the game as you apply for this a grant, whether it's a bridge or whatever the case may be. For us, I'm giving us as an example, but a lot of times that's like an 80-20 type deal where 80% of it is federal dollars, 20% of it is local match, we'll call. So I'm going to say that stuff like that, due to the fact that you were not almost required to do it, we'll probably look at that kind of stuff in a mitigation round and try to help, like I said, as many as possible. But go ahead and put it in there so that we can see what we've got, so that it gives us a better picture too of how we want to handle that. If we don't handle it now, we'll handle it in a future round here with the other, almost 3 million, 2.5 million that we still have of money left. So we'll just take it as it comes, but go ahead and put it in there so that we can kind of see. It gives the committee along with the commission an opportunity to see what's been going on with local businesses and how can we help as many as possible.
Thank you. A kind of a follow-up question, and I think you've touched on this one, but is what about the purchase of masks, installation of between work barriers, and extra sanitizing equipment and chemicals? Is that also covered?
That's in there. So if you bought PPE, if you had to buy extra hand sanitizer and shields or whatever, to keep a plexiglass or whatever between your staff and the clients that are coming in, that's all eligible in this first round. Those are the things that are definitely eligible. And as we move into that HVAC stuff and flooring, maybe even, or hands-free faucets, we're going to look at that in a different round, I think, with the mitigation type thing and small grants.
Then there was another question that said, if a business does not have an annual budget, is it disqualified or not eligible?
If a business, if you have receipts that you had to do stuff, then turn it in. I think we're going to try to be as fair as possible to everyone as we move through this first round. And like I said, we've got other rounds. We're going to kind of learn a lot here too as we go through this first round. We're going to learn as much or more as most of the people that are on this call today as we move through, because we were given this pot of money with very few guidelines. They were gray, but it seems like everything else that's went on with this CARES Act money, as we move along, the federal government then starts creating more and more rules, on how you can use it. So if you're a business in Callaway County and you have expenses, put them together, turn them in, put them in that manila envelope like we're asking, and get them turned in so that we can look at them and make some decisions. But yes, I would say turn them in.
And then one of the questions was, do these expenses have to be spent before now?
So on this first round of applications, your invoices that you have, and this is guidance from the federal government, not something we made up. Your invoices have to be dated March 1st of this year through May 31st of this year. That's kind of now the May 31st is a deadline we created for this first round. But that March 1 date is a federal date. If your invoices are dated prior to that, they're not eligible.
Not our fault.
Yeah, and that's that March 1st date, like I said, I'll reiterate, that's a federal guideline, not a county guideline.
Can businesses apply for both the first and second round?
I'm going to tell you, you can apply every time we have a round. If you think you're eligible, you should apply. As I said earlier, we're trying to see how many we get, and we want to help as many businesses as possible with this CARES Act money. And we're with the gray guidelines that we have, we're going to be looking at everything and trying to figure out what is it that we can do. And we were given $5.2 million. And that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But when you look at the amount of businesses and the local governments we have in the county and trying to ease the pain for everybody, 5.2 million gets spread pretty thin as we move along. So yeah, if you think you're eligible, turn it in.
Okay, and then unless something else comes in, that was the last one I have.
Okay, thank you, Justice. One thing that we do want to kind of remind the businesses is that it's hard to get in contact with all of the businesses in Callaway County. You know, we're doing our due diligence to do that, but if you know a business owner, mention this CARES Act funding to them. If they haven't heard about it or don't have the application, just let us know, send us an email, or you all have all received that, so feel free to forward that on to the other businesses that you know. It's on the website for Callaway County, it's on the Chamber website, on the City of Fulton website, Village of Kingdom City. It's also on the Facebook pages, so we have it out there where it's easily accessible to anybody that has a computer. But if they don't have a computer, they can actually go to the Callaway County Courthouse or one of the city locations and pick up a hard copy and a hard copy of the spreadsheet, and then turn that back in. Everything that's submitted must be turned in hard copy, so there's no way to submit it online. But there is a way for people that can't print it from online to pick it up. So we do have businesses out there that still operate with pen and paper. So we want to make sure that they have what they need in order to apply for this CARES Act funding. Any questions can be submitted to the committee, correct, Gary? Or
Committee, commission, whatever.
what's the phone
Whatever
number for the commission again?
Phone number here at the courthouse for the county commission is 573-642-0737.
And they can talk to you, Roger,
Or any
or
others.
Randy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have applications here. If you're in the courthouse and we have them down here in the commission's office. So feel free to come down and we'll give you a copy of everything that we put out there, the press release, the application, everything, so that you have it in hand.
Okay. Any other questions before we wrap this up today? No?
I haven't received
Okay.
anything.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Like we said, these applications are due by noon on June 15th. Not at 12:01, but at noon. So make sure you get your applications in early, because we don't want you to be left out of this process or this first round. You can apply for first and second round, and just continue to ask yourself that question: would I have purchased this if it would not have been for COVID-19 in order to meet my customers or for my workforce? So anyway,
I had one question come in.
Oh, okay.
Can we post where they can be dropped off? And I'm assuming applications. Can we post where the applications can be dropped off?
Yes.
If we haven't done that, I'll get with the cities. We'll send them an email to put on their social media pages. But just as to answer that question, and I think we've done that several times during this Zoom, but you can drop them off at any of the cities that are on there where you can get an application. Any place that's on there to get an application, you can drop it off. Now, as we stated, or as Tamara stated, you can't return them online, because we're asking you, we just don't want a whole pile of papers with paper clips. We want those applications and requests turned in a manila envelope, so that we can make sure your stuff stays together and we look at it one at a time and keep it together as we move forward, because that's going to help us even in our filing, because we're going to have to keep all of this stuff, because we're extremely excited about 2021 and getting an audit over this money, because we will be audited and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. So we do thank everybody for what they're doing.
And it needs to be sealed because of your confidential information you're including in this application. Please make sure that it is sealed. We don't want to lose any of your receipts or any invoices, and those should probably be copies if all possible. Okay.
Correct, because the county will be keeping that information. All these sealed envelopes will be here for, I'm going to say 10 years before they'll finally be destroyed, because we'll have to keep them just in case the federal government comes back after the original audit. So we'll have them for about 10 years before we actually have them shredded and destroyed.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Tamara.
Bye. Thanks.